Oh, there it is. Yep, see, they done StreamYard done got me all messed up. All right, let's try this again. What's going on, football fans? It's me, J.R. Clark, back again with another Pound for Pound ATL Live. Joined as always by my co-host Jonathan Holder. Jonathan, what's up, brother?
Be doing a whole lot better. StreamYard would get their act together.
Well, yeah, I mean, like there's they add in new features, which is great, right? We
Yeah.
appreciate it. We pay for the service, so new features are always appreciated. But you don't really get no way to test run them. Like I don't know how it's gonna look or how it's gonna act.
Yep.
So, I try to like cover my bases, and then I end up doing something crazy. So,
it's
either
all right.
way,
It's all good.
oh man. Just like the picture behind us is sunny days here in Atlanta. Hearts go out to anybody who has been affected by this storm that has went through. Seeing some of these images that have come across are absolutely heartbreaking. Um, especially up there in the Carolinas where they're not used to dealing with stuff like this, like especially up in the mountains. Like you live in the mountains, you're not expecting a hurricane, right? Uh,
Yep.
and so like thoughts and prayers and all that stuff goes out to those guys. I wanted to take a second to kind of say that. But uh like I said, sunny days here because on Sunday we beat our flapping rivals, and that was amazing.
Yes. It was absolutely amazing.
Like I there's so much I want to get into, and obviously we're going to get into it,
Let's just go ahead
and
and get into it.
might as well, just get into it. So, as we stated, Sunday was first like 1 o'clock game we've had in a while, and we got to do it against our beloved rivals, these the folks from Stinky Town,
Yep.
and
The
uh,
Aints.
yeah, the Aints, and it was an odd game, like straight up and down. It was just an odd game to watch, but there's part of me that's always like it's always an odd game against the Saints.
And there's always shenanigans that pop up in games between the Falcons and the Saints. Uh, and you just I actually so like after the game, like maybe a couple days after the game, I or a day after the game, I was looking up some reactions to the game, stuff like that. And there's a couple of guys that I watched like parts of the not the whole thing, but parts of the game where they did like play by play, like we do during the preseason, right?
Gotcha.
And they do it for I guess they do it every game. And anyway, he was he made that comment of like every game between the Falcons and Saints is always some kind of shenanigans that's going on. You just hope that you're on the right side of those shenanigans,
Yeah,
not the
right.
wrong side, and that's kind of where we were on Sunday.
I mean, it starts off with, we basically the first few games, our opening drives have been really nice. It's been like some of the best drives that we have. So this game we open it up, we're going three and out, and you're like, okay, all right, we're in for you got a backup center and a backup right tackle in the game. So much for whatever, right?
Yep.
And then you get the muffed punt for a touchdown, and like that's something you just don't expect. Like why Rashid was even going to field that punt?
Nope.
You're standing on the 5 yard line. Like what are you doing?
He was standing on the 5. He didn't actually. The ball didn't hit him until he was on like the 3 or 2.
Right. Like what are
Yeah.
you doing?
Yeah.
Uh and yeah,
I mean, he has to. He has to be. It has to be a situation where he just lost track of where he was on the field.
it had
It
to
has
be.
to be.
I mean, and because like Shaheed is not a bad player. Like he's a really good number two, number three. Like I think he's kind of become their number two behind Olave. And like he's a really solid player. And for him to make that kind of a mistake was was definitely shocking, which obviously will take all day long, getting um, you know, getting a free touchdown, so to speak. And for Cordell Hodge to be the one to like finally land on it, like special teams ace, I was really happy for him in that scenario.
It was cool watching that. Like when you watch it again, because like the first guy that gets there, I can't remember his name. I can't remember who it was, but the first, so it hits Shaheed. Shaheed tries to turn around, falls down, or gets knocked down. The first guy there is not Kadero Hodge. First guy there
No,
is some other guy. He like tries to grab it, misses it. Kadero Hodge is like, just get out
he
of my like.
swims. He swims over that dude. I think it was
He's like, oh
McFadden.
god,
I think it was a backup safety McFadden,
oh,
and
okay,
Hodge basically scrambles over him,
yeah,
and it looks like he's like swimming, and it was hilarious, and in that aspect, and like even my wife was like, that was that was awesome,
yeah.
um, and so yeah, that was a good like a good opening salvo. And so, all right, well, let's go ahead and like switch into go ahead and do the ballers and fallers, and then we'll get into the rest of the game. So we'll start off with Willie Doc, who always starts us off with our ballers and fallers. Thank you, Willie.
Hey, really?
I think he had to step away. He put another comment, which he says, "We'll catch you on the replay, but can address this, or but can you address this?" He says Tyler should start over Bijan controversy and the curious disappearance of Pitts. We'll get into all those, but back to your ballers and fallers. He says baller Troy Anderson, faller Pitts, honorable mention Algier, side eye glance by coup to the rest of the offense. Bro, you made me kick a 58 yards. Yeah, those are all like very, very, very good. But yeah, I think you're pretty much like spot on because our baller was I had Young Wei Koo and Troy Anderson.
Yep.
The Young Wei Koo for the 58 yarder and plus scoring our only offensive points. But Troy Anderson like had himself a game, and it sucks that he got banged up at the end of the game with a potential knee injury. But buddy,
Hopefully he's just out like a week or so.
yeah, I'm hoping, I'm thinking maybe a short week, and then the fact that you get 10 days off, like a mini bye kind of thing. I'm really hoping that it's just the Bucs game, but still, like he was, finally looked like he was like really getting into the defense as far as like free flowing, making plays. Obviously, the pick six, um,
Mhm.
which was just a great heads up play by Judon and him to get us on the board. I think it was the first time since like 80 something. No, it was the first time since like '06 where the Falcons didn't score an offensive touchdown but won the game.
Yeah,
And
makes sense.
there was some other like weird stats that I might look at.
There was some like the Saints. I think the Saints actually. Well, I don't know if the exact same thing happened here, but I know that they became one of 3 NFL teams. I think in NFL history. I'm not 100% sure exactly what the time frame, but what I heard was it was one of 3 teams that scored 21 points or more, gave up 0 touchdowns defensively, and still lost the
Right, right. Yeah, and Bradley Burnett saying like Saints were 2 of those 3 teams.
game.
So, um, but yeah, like so obviously those guys deserve like all their flowers this week.
Yes.
Like Troy Anderson has been kind of a punching bag for a little while. And we, a lot of folks kept saying, you know, if he can just put his athleticism together, that maybe he could be something. You also got to remember, folks, for at least for Troy Anderson, this is only his 10th start. So he hasn't even
That kind of
started.
surprised me when I heard that.
Right.
It kind of surprised me a little bit.
Yeah, because he got hurt last year, so there was a good chunk of his play last year that he missed out on. So he's not even started a full season yet, and like this is the first time in his football career that he's gotten to focus on just one position. So his development might be a little bit slower than what we expect. Fred Butt says great win, but we but can we use Pitts more, which we'll get into that, and then no more Troy Anderson disrespect, which is kind of what I'm alluding to. Some of these folks just aren't going to develop as fast as you think they should. And third year used to be the benchmark of when you could start to evaluate a player as far as like determining what he is in the league. And technically speaking, this is just the start of Troy's third year in the NFL, but only his 10th start. So I would surmise that his best days are still ahead.
Yeah, if we can get on more occasions than not, if we can get games out of him like what he did on Sunday, because that was by far the best game he's played as a professional,
Oh yeah.
like by far. And so if we can get that kind of play out of him on a obviously everybody's going to have bad games. Everybody's going to he's going to be the Saquon Barkley of the Falcons in a game at some point in his career, where like maybe he has a interception that like literally hits him right in the face, right in the chest. He drops it, and it would have won the game for us, and then we go on to lose it. Like that stuff is going to happen, right? But if he can on a consistent basis give us that kind of performance, he's going to be just fine.
Yeah, I think so. I think so. All right, let's move on to our honorary faller. I really need to like change up I got too many clicks here before I get to anyway. None of that matters. Y'all are not here for that. Anyway, faller.
So I know we talked about it a little bit about this. I chose Pitts.
Right.
And now that wasn't necessarily some of it wasn't necessarily his fault. Some of it was, but I think it is what it is. The more I've looked at this game and the more I've seen some of the discourse on the game and everything like that, it's not necessarily Zach Robinson's fault from a play calling perspective. It seems much more of an execution perspective.
Right. And it seems to be a little bit more of an execution aspect. And I feel like, again, by the end of the season, we're probably going to be singing a different tune. If I'm going to caution y'all to give Troy Anderson a pass or whatever for only being his 10th start, we also have to remind ourselves that this is only the fourth game that Zach Robinson has called, as a professional OC. So, I'm trying to like be like lax, but I'm kind of with Fred here. Like we call too many screens, but part of me wonders is if that was, hey, I've got two guys, two backups on my O line that I don't want to necessarily ask to hold up forever.
Yep.
I don't know. You know what I'm saying?
Well, there's some of that. The screen game is kind of an extension of your run game, right? And between the two, Algier and Robinson, we didn't like really run the ball a ton. Like Algier, with the touches he got to run the ball, absolutely killed it. And we'll talk about, as part of what Willie was talking about earlier, we'll talk about this in a little bit. And I'm definitely of that mindset that I do think we need to rush Algier way more than we do. Like he needs to kind of be the workhorse. And I think Bijan needs to be the guy that's the switch up. And I think he's your guy that goes out and get him in a lot of screens and get him in space somewhere. And that's where he's going to give you the most bang for your buck. Algier is going to be the guy that you pummel the other team into, just wanting to not be on the field.
Well, I'd have to go back and like really like chart it and whatever. But I wonder like how many of like Algier's like big runs, and they come in like late third, fourth quarter when
Oh, they
guys,
do.
and that's what I'm saying. Like when guys are tired of tackling, right? And like it's a thought process, and it's something that we talked about over the off season that we should like really revisit. Like the engine of this uh Falcons offense still should be this run game. Like there's no reason for it not to be. This O line was built to run the ball and to run outside zone. Like in one off season, you can't expect them to like switch that up, especially when you're starting the same five guys, even though this game you obviously didn't, and they're doing a really good job of mixing in some other stuff and getting more comfortable at like the inside zones and the duos and stuff like that. But the outside zone should still be your bread and butter, because Tyler Algier is a really good outside zone runner.
Yes.
Like he's really good at it.
And
And
he's not, and while he's not the burner, like he's
no,
not like, but he's sneaky fast because he
he,
he can still get the edge on you. Like he's not Jerome Bettis where he just flat can't get to the edge. Like
no,
he can't get to the edge and turn the corner, and then he's down the sideline.
and he's fast, or like he's versatile enough to where you can, catch some passes. Like he can catch some passes like that. The run that got, highlighted on Good Morning Football or whatever, the angry run from Tyler Algier was a dump off pass, which oddly enough on that play, like Kyle Pitts was wide open. but but as far as like the Pitts discourse, which I guess we can really get into down in the down. I like that. That's a good one. Down in the pits. Very catchy. I like. Good work, Jonathan. Good work.
You keep me around for one reason or another.
You're a pretty face. No, I'm saying. Like Pitts has been like, I'm really starting to wonder what is the like the livelihood, not livelihood, but like what is the life expectancy of Kyle Pitts on this team. And I say that because we're 4 games into his 4th year, right? Or is it the 3rd year? So no, 4th year.
It's
No, 3rd year,
fourth year.
because
Fourth year.
this
No,
is
because
his 4th year.
the rookie
Yeah.
year.
Yeah, the
Second
3
year he
years.
got injured.
Yeah, you
Then
had 3
last year
years
he
of Arthur
played
Smith.
injured.
Yeah, you had 3 years of Arthur Smith, and now it's his 1st year without him. But if tight ends aren't this big a deal in the offensive scheme, like if Zach Robinson is literally just going to run the Sean McVay offense, and tight ends, like they had, Tyler Higbee, and he gets some, catches here or there. He's not a big part of the offense, right? He's not a focal point of the offense. So if tight ends are just going to be like a, third down option, or not third down, but a third receiver option, even 4th receiver option, and then blocking, then we need to trade Pitts, and try to get something that will be useful. And we need to do it while the league still has value on him. And I'm not saying this because I don't think Pitts could be useful for us, because I do. Like I said, now we might be singing a different tune by the end of the season when Kirk is truly comfortable and all this other jazz. Everybody's really in more of a rhythm. But there are plenty of plays where Pitts is wide open and Kirk's not even looking that way, like at all. Dre.
Well, I saw that. He's like, what?
Dre says, Jerry, what do you say? I'm not okay.
Dang.
I'm not saying that I don't want him on my team. That's not what I'm trying to say. I'm just looking at it from a team building like logistics standpoint. And I do this every year, right? Whether it's, not like I want to trade people, but if we're not getting value, then we need to somehow get value. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So let's see. Brian says, I'm thinking that the Falcons should extend Pitts because it shouldn't cost a lot because Pitts is not putting up big numbers. So he's definitely not putting up, big numbers. I want to kind of see where he's at. So what is your overall thoughts on Pitts right now?
The problem okay. Who did now? Granted, this past game he targeted Drake London 12 times, got 6 catches out of it. That's a really good secondary, so that's not too bad. All right, but the next guy on the list that is targeted more than anybody else is Darnell Mooney, and why is that? Because when he throws it to him, if he puts it, near him, chances are he's coming down with the catch. The problem we have now is he threw to Pitts, 3 times. One time and he just felt, he got his feet tangled up. It is what it is. Another time it was in between 2 defenders where the ball got to him and he couldn't hang on to it. And that's the thing that, first and foremost, as a tight end, I need you to be reliable. Like, I need you to be the guy that can make a tough catch, contested catch, with in between a couple of defenders, you're going to get smashed. It is that's what a tight end does. Tight end's going to get hit by a couple linebacker or 2, and you got to be able to take and absorb those hits, and you got to be able to be that security blanket. If you want to be, in my opinion, if you want to be that if you want to be a tight end in the NFL. Like, if you want to be one of the success, the tight ends in the NFL, you have to be that kind of guy. And you see, Kyle Pitts, zeros across the board here. He did get 3 targets. We saw, Drake London make some really great catches, and that builds the rapport with, knowing, hey, I can throw it out there, and if I'm a little bit off, you're going to make me look, and there'll be times where I'll do it perfectly where you don't beat the guy, but I still get it into you because I throw a perfect pass. Like, there's that back and forth, right?
Right. Like Chris has. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
No, you're fine. And I agree. Like, at this time, right this second, if we had to lose one guy to injury, I would if it was Kyle Pitts, I would be like, that sucks. I don't want to see the dude injured. I'm not trying to advocate for him to get injured or anything like that. But if he gets injured, I'm kind of like, dang, that sucks. Okay, well, should be all right. Ray gets injured. I'm a little more concerned now because he's a guy that produces. He's a guy that our quarterback is comfortable throwing in all kinds of situations. I think he was actually 100% or close to it when he targeted Ray. He caught the ball.
Right. And that's Bradley adds Darnell and Ray are where Kirk expects them to be more often than not. Kirk doesn't want to chance an interception because a guy ran a sloppy in-breaking route. Now, the part of the question, part of the critique is, and which is why I kind of had Zach Robinson in there, is okay, Kyle Pitts isn't that at least as of what you've seen right now, that sharp in-break separation. He's gotten the worst separation right now.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know if they're just calling some routes he's not, that great with. Yes, he's fast, especially for a tight end. But fast and shifty, as I think we talked about this last week, are 2 totally different things.
That's why I like Ray McLeod. That's why I really like Rondale Moore. That's why I wanted and hoped we were going to draft Vlad McConkey. I really like McConkey for the shiftiness because we don't. That's kind of the thing we're missing. Mooney does have is probably the closest to that
shifty
that we.
Well, that was the reason why, if we didn't grab Vlad McConkey, then I was really wanting another cat who's looking good up in Washington, and that's Luke McCaffrey.
Yep.
Like he's got that same kind of twitch shifty. That's what gets you that separation is when you can when every route looks the same until you break it off, whether it's in breaker, outbreakers, comebacks, whatever. When you can push a guy vertically, yeah, Bradley says his Kyle Pitts' route trees are seams and fades. Right. It's that straight line speed. And, if you're not willing to throw it to him like that, or not like if you haven't developed that rapport yet. Now, granted, to this point, the longest catch of anybody in a Falcons game this year has been Kyle Pitts.
Yeah.
So we just
Well,
got to
because he got to show off the long speed,
right.
right?
And
So
that's where not having the O line that you feel like you could trust against a good D line, to where you are trying to get the ball out quicker on a more regular basis. Like you're going to take your shots, but they can't always be, to pit, so to speak.
well, and so like for me, seam routes. Hey, like there have been tight ends that have made an entire career out of beating dudes like all over the field, like just straight up on seam routes. Like
Yeah.
that's what they do. I mean, you look at Gronkowski. The dude made his bones on either running out into the middle of the field and just turning around and being a big body,
Yep.
big giant target, grabbing it, and then being a handful to bring down. Or he was running down the seam, and again, he was a big body, big target. You could toss it up high, he could go and get it, and then then trying to tackle him while he had a full head of steam was a whole nother problem. Like again, there's nothing wrong with if you're really good at the seam route, if you're really good at the fade route, which he should be on both of those. I see this lazy. So when I watch the all 22, I'm not seeing lazy. I'm not. Now
Yeah, I don't.
is he snapping off those in routes? No, because he's not that kind of guy.
Yeah,
That's just not his repertoire.
I don't think it's lazy. I don't think at least I don't get that sense. Like I could be wrong. I don't get that sense, and but I do get that he's unfortunately another guy who's like, unfortunately for him, is a product of his like draft status, because if he's not drafted at 4, like we're not as worried about it, right?
Yeah.
Like
But
nobody thinks about or cares about OJ Howard.
Yeah.
But
I would run him like specifically. I would call plays, especially if we're talking like teams that play a lot of Tampa 2.
Mm-hmm.
If a team plays a lot of Tampa 2, that's a game where Kyle Pitts should feast, because if you run him down the seam, and there's probably very few linebackers that are going to be able to stay with him. Right? You run down those seams, and you should be able to make some hay there. But also like run this guy on some drag routes. Get him, like, he doesn't have to, a drag route doesn't require you to like break off a route or anything like that. It's literally you just come off the line, make a right turn or a left turn or whatever, and then just run as fast as you can across the field. And if he can do that, he can get his separation that he's looking for, or run him down the sideline. Just run him down the sideline, throw the ball up, and let him go get it.
There's a part of me that agrees with Fred, and this is why, again, I was kind of looking like downtrodden, so to speak, right now at Zach Robinson. It's like he's too good not to find ways to get him the ball. Like we keep saying that, but I do believe that, like, in a sense, like he's running out of time, right? And in this, at least on this team, because he's in his 4th year, they picked up his 5th year, so he needs to figure out what he is good at and what he can be useful at and useful for. That's why I opened this up by saying, if all you're going to do is your run of the mill tight end stuff with him, then you need to get some assets for him before you decide not to pay him. You see what I'm saying? Because if all you're going to do is what you're doing with Charlie Warner, I can do that with Charlie Warner and Dewey, the third tight end. I can do those things with those guys.
Yeah.
I can do those things with another tight end that I pick up in the 4th or 5th round of the draft. But if you've got this guy who has exceptional talent, we need to get to figure it out in a better way. And if not, if you're like, no, that's not what I want to do, that's not how I want to construct my offense, which you're totally fine to not do, then you need to trade him to somebody. And the first one that comes to mind, especially right now, is the Kansas City Chiefs. I said it last year, and I'll say it again this year. Like, Travis Kelce is on the downside of his career. They're looking for an heir apparent or replacement. So send them, send them pits. I put out a poll on my Twitter the other day, or today, just like for craps and giggles. I just wanted to see how many people would bite on it. But a 61 votes. I said, who would you trade Kyle Pitts for? Jonah Ellis, Felix Uzama, or Aziz Ojulari. These are all backup pass rushers. Jonah Ellis is on, I believe he might be on the Chiefs. I know Felix is on the Chiefs. I think Jonah might be on the Broncos, and Aziz Ojulari is on the Giants. Because those were the 3 teams that I thought could potentially use, another pass catcher. Because as it stands right now, this offense seems to operate as we kind of thought about before from the 3 wide receivers, with Drake London, Darnell Mooney, and Ray McLeod. I mean, as you can see here, receptions 6, 3, and 6. And then Bijan getting what would be like the kind of tight end types, not tight end, but your 4th wide receiver type stuff. And so, like, yeah, he is. Bradley says Ellis is Broncos, and I believe is Broncos, yes. And he's also the brother of Caden Ellis, which, we highlighted more than once. But still, I really think, like, if you were to just do a straight player swap with one of those guys, if at all possible, and I say the Chiefs because Rashee Rice sounds like he might be out for the season. Yeah. And they're down pass catchers.
Yep, the 2 top guys are down. Like I said, when it comes to Kyle Pitts, for all we know, like this coming week, he may just break out and all of a sudden, make all the arguments that we're talking about here sound.
That's part of what I'm trying to remind myself week in and week out when we come on the show, especially right now. We are only 4 games into this season. We are only 4 games into this season with Zach Robinson as a OC. And we are only 4 games into this season with, Kirk Cousins being the QB, still getting, you see what I'm saying? Like, I'm trying to not overreact on the things that are seeing week to week. But it's hard not to when there's certain things that kind of look the same still,
Yeah.
And some of the things are starting to like solidify and starting to bear out. Chris says Bo could use another target up there. I don't know, man. Bo beat Aaron Rodgers. He outdueled him. I don't know if he needs another target up there.
I mean, but can you really call it a duel when he had like -7 in the first half and then 70 in the second half?
Look, Aaron Rodgers didn't throw no touchdown in the rain. Bo Nix did. Yeah. All right, I had to throw some love out there for our boy Chris because he's always
I saw his comment earlier about Bo's better than
that's right.
Aaron Rodgers.
Right. Which is funny. Let's see. Yep. Now I'm actually going to pull that up.
Before we move on that, I do find it funny how like a lot of people were coming. Both Chris was one of them, and there was a lot of people online. And there was a lot of the talking heads and all this other stuff. In the preseason, Bo Nix looked great. Bo Nix looked great against second team guys and third team guys. And then I kept saying, I was like, let's just wait until the season. Let's see what he looks like in season. And he looks like a rookie ass rookie quarterback. That's what he looks
Well,
like.
right now, the one who's impressing me the most is Jaden Daniels out there
Of course,
in
if he's not
holy
impressing you,
crap.
there's some that
That has
you don't
been
know what the I don't know.
part of me wants to ask, all right, like who was really the issue in Arizona? Was it Cliff Kingsbury or was it flipping Kyler Murray, or was it just the idea that sometimes it's easier, as we talk about a lot of times, it's easier for coaches to coach just one side of the ball.
Hold on 1 second.
Go, what you got? What you got? Go ahead.
Bo has more wins. No, the Denver Broncos defense has more wins than Ritter. That's who has those wins.
You over here going to argue.
I'm just messing with you, Chris. I am just messing with you. But
right,
like, hey, I hope he's successful unless we play him, and then I hope we bury his ass really hard.
I don't want game logs, dagnummit. I just want like career, because I'm trying to like show. Let's see, I've done something crazy here.
Uh-oh.
I know, right? Let's see, is this what I want? Okay, that's all I was trying to get to. Good Lord. All right, here we go. Tyler Higbee, go away, pop up. Nobody likes you pop up. All right, so last few years, this is like starting around 2020 is kind of when Zach Robinson would have been there, right?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
So you're looking at 60 targets, 85, 108, and then 70. So his best year target wise was in 2022. He had 108 targets, 72 receptions, 620 yards. Like that's what I want y'all to see, right? His best year was only 734 yards. Touchdowns around the 5-3 mark. So that's not like hugely involved, as far as what you would consider. Okay, let's see on this same team last year. Let's take a look at, see if I can easily get to the Rams without jumping through a whole bunch of hoops. Come on. Let's see. I know I should be using pop-up blockers, but I'm not.
God bless.
I know. I was trying to get to like what like Cooper Kupp's stuff was. Anyway, none of that matters. Tyler Higbee wasn't like majorly involved. He wasn't like involved in the same level as like a Travis Kelce, is what I'm getting at.
Yeah.
So if we're going to compare like the potential talent of, Kyle Pitts to a Travis Kelce, which is what you're saying he was when you take him fourth overall, then you're expecting a decade of 1,000 yards each year. You're expecting production that rivals a, wide receiver one is what you're expecting. You're expecting teams to have to game plan to stop the guy. That's what you're expecting. You're not expecting a Tyler Higbee, level production. I got nothing against Tyler Higbee, but I mean, dude was drafted let's see. Come on. He was a 4th round tight end. That's what I was getting at.
Yeah.
Like if that's the kind of production that you're going to get, okay, fine. Then we don't need to even attempt to try to pay a 1st round tight end, like high end tight end money, if you're not going to get high end tight end production.
No, of course not. And for my money, I'll say this. Look, and if we get to the end of the season and we look back and we're like, man, week 5, Kyle Pitts just took off.
Hey,
and he's great. Then that's fine. But now,
I don't mind being wrong.
No,
I have no problem being wrong.
Especially when it comes out to the good for my team.
I was about to say, because generally speaking, when I'm wrong, that means something good has happened.
Oh, absolutely.
Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I was wrong about Cordell Patterson. Okay. He was good. So far, I've been wrong about Ray McLeod. I literally thought we were bringing this guy in to be a returner.
Yep.
And here he is, like through 4 games, being one of the most consistent, like third options. And I was well, I don't know. I ain't saying I was wrong about Darnell Mooney. He's actually producing like in a way I thought he would, or I thought he could. You know, uh, True Black Gaming says late to the show, but this offensive line looked good. It looked like they game plan wise, they did a pretty good job of masking the offensive line. Like
I watched Granderson on Norton quite a few times. Not every single snap, but like when Granderson was over there and he went up against Storm Norton, like Storm Norton was stonewalling him
right,
over and over and over again.
right. So I mean, you only gave up one sack out of the whole game, and that's pretty good. Considering like what they have on that defensive line. It says also Troy Anderson heard y'all last week and said, hold my beer real quick. Yeah, he did. Like again,
They did.
when I'm wrong, it generally works out well, for the team. So I have no problem being wrong. Some folks have that problem. Um, let's see.
Yeah, I am not one of them.
Oh, you're never wrong, sir. No. um,
Exactly.
yeah. See, when Isaiah Likely was coming out, I actually was like, hell, when this is when we still had Arthur Smith. I said, if we're really going to lean into the tight ends, pair Isaiah Likely with Pitts because they're very similar players, and he shows up. So in a lot of the same ways. So it's going to be interesting to see how the rest of the year plays out.
I mean, if I am Zach Robinson, I'm not way smarter about football than I will ever be. But if I was Zach Robinson, I would be looking at how Isaiah Likely is used, figure out is that something we can and or should add into our offense. Like figure out whatever they're doing over there because he's going off, and whatever they're doing over there with him, they need to figure out how can we replicate that here with Kyle Pitts. Because if Kyle Pitts can start to go off and be that threat that everybody like right now, he's kind of been more of and he's losing that a little bit as time goes on, where the production's not there. But he's kind of everybody's still just like waiting for it to happen. Even defenses are still kind of waiting for it to happen. So they're just like he's almost like a decoy in a lot of ways. Even when he doesn't get the ball, he still commands attention. But how do you get that same kind of production out of Kyle Pitts as you're getting out of Isaiah Likely? What are they doing that we're not? Are they doing anything that we're not? Or is it just?
I mean, it could. I really think. I really feel like. I really feel like we need to get better at establishing the run. Zach Robinson even said that himself. Like, if we can get more consistent on the run game, then a lot of things will build off of that. From the play action passes to the bootlegs to the chip and release, type stuff, where I think that's where Kyle Pitts could really kill, is like making everything look like a run, chip and release. Alberto says, can y'all answer then why did Fontenot draft Pitts?
I mean, look, coming out of college, okay, we didn't know anything about what was going to happen in the 4 years that he's been with us.
No.
You look at him coming out of college, there's no reason why you don't take him.
No.
Right.
And also, like, that first year, you really felt like you were going to get 2 or 3 years more out of Matt Ryan. And when you drafted Pitts, Calvin Ridley hadn't like dipped out on you, and Julio Jones hadn't requested a trade.
Yep.
So, I mean, I can't get mad at them at that point.
I mean, think about that. We drafted Pitts, and everybody's sitting here thinking like, man, Julio Jones, Calvin Ridley, who went off the year before.
Right.
Like Julio Jones, Calvin Ridley, Kyle Pitts. Like you put those three names, and with the kind of production we were expecting out of the first two, and then you put Kyle Pitts into that mix where Julio Jones is the focus, and so there's less focus on him, and now he's the guy. And then even when he became like the guy that season, his rookie season, when everybody knew like the one guy you didn't want to let beat you was Kyle Pitts, and he was still beating folks.
Yeah.
To
I
the
mean,
tune
and
of
even with
beating a
and
forever record.
right, and even with you know when Julio gets traded and Calvin Ridley walks away, and literally all you have was Pitts, he was still doing it. So, I mean, I think it's there. I think the potential's obviously there. He's just can he get back to it, or did that injury like zap his legs? In that like breaking type sense. Like, yeah, he's still got the straight line speed, but did it zap some of the agility that he had? Because he's still a huge dude. Like, Millie's over talking about dude 6'6", 250. Right. And he moved like a wide receiver. So, like, but does he not have that same kind of, agility?
Well,
So
he was never, even in college, he didn't have the I'm gonna break this out route off, and you're just I'm gonna break your ankles. Like he didn't have the Julio Jones. Like I'm
no.
gonna make you so scared for your life that I'm about to just run right past you, and then I'm gonna throw on the brakes and go outside, and you're just gonna just fall over because that's what they do, right? That we saw Julio do that to so many different cornerbacks over the years. He was never that guy. He was never going to be that guy. Like
No.
he was a tight end that was a athletic freak. And when you're in college, it doesn't take much when you're an athletic freak to
And
really stand out
the
to
only
look
thing
like amazing.
the only thing of his game that has not translated from college to the pros, and yeah, as of yet, who knows, is the like dunking on people. And like, I mean, like the going up and above, and that's something that he should be good at. And that so far hasn't developed. And I don't know, hopefully it will. And hopefully again, like I said, we're in years to come or even games to come, we're not even talking about it anymore.
Yeah.
But I kind of agree with VTW here. We spent 4 straight top 10 picks on the offensive side of the ball, and 2 out of the 4 games, we haven't had an offensive touchdown. Now, add on to boot that you spend $180 million on a quarterback because you felt like you were just a quarterback away. These are the things that make you start, again, as of right now, 4 games in, why I had Zach Robinson's face up there. Because, like, these are not the things that we should be talking about, at least not as of yet. We should be not still dealing with red zone woes. Not still having games where we don't score an offensive touchdown. Like that shouldn't be happening when you invest the amount of money and the amount of capital in the offensive side of the ball. So that stuff they got to get fixed.
Yeah, I mean they absolutely have to get it fixed. But again, yes, does Zach Robinson need to get better? Absolutely. Do I think he will get better? Absolutely. Because I mean, we've seen it from week one. And granted, we talk about week one where you're a first-time play caller in the NFL. You've never called plays before. Maybe you did. Maybe they let you call plays here and there at in LA. But but you've never had to be the guy to put together a game plan and then going through the game, the flow of the game, getting a feel for the game, like how things are going, what's the defense trying to do to you, what are things you can counter that, all the stuff that goes through why you call plays at certain times. He never had to do that, and he goes up against what is arguably probably one of the best defenses in the NFL, if not the best. Okay, and so yeah, he had a rough go of week one. Week two comes out, looks way better. Just think, was it as explosive as we wanted it to be? No. Did we score as many points as we wanted to score? No. We scored enough, but was it exactly what we wanted? No, but it was better. And I think you go to the Kansas City game, and it was better again. And I think we were better again in this New Orleans game. We just couldn't quite finish the job, like because we were like we went up and down the field fairly well on them a lot of that game. If you look at the passing yardage, Carr's got one more or one less yard than Cousins does. They scored 3 touchdowns. You know, but we just couldn't break through like that. We couldn't finish those drives like they were able to do.
I mean, the
I
one
think it once it we're so close. We are so close to it clicking.
because like right now, like we had 6.2 yards per play, which was better than theirs, but they rushed for more than we did. They passed for more than we did, and they had more total yards than we did. Um, Time of possession, we got to be able to sustain drives on the offensive side of the ball. Because yet again, time of possession, they had the ball for 10 minutes longer than we did. Like we can't keep doing that. The defense is going to get burnt out. Because the bigger deal here was, again, we won the turnover battle, but the things you have to clean up are penalties. Like they don't call that holding penalty, and Bijan walks in from about 20 yards out,
Yeah,
and maybe we're having a little bit of a different conversation,
yeah.
right? So
That was a bad call, by the way.
that
That's
was
so
horrible.
bad.
It was
It's a
horrible.
horrible call.
Like the refs have not been good either, and not just in our game. They have been all the way around. The refs have not been that great. So again, there's a lot of it that is still like we are just the growing pains.
Yep.
But now we turn our sights towards the Bucs because we got a short week and we're right back into playing a game. Thankfully enough, it's at home.
Yeah.
Um, so home team tends to favor the Thursday night game. Coming off of a short week, so we're going to see how this pans out. But the Bucs pretty good showing on the Eagles after they got beat by the Broncos the week before,
Mm-hmm.
and kind of lets you know that hey, um, kind of expose the Eagles, even though they beat the Saints. Expose them a little bit more. So, be interested to see which Bucks teams we get.
Yeah. We need to this is a game where if this was like mid teens, uh, 2010 to like 2019. If it was in the mid teens and it was the Patriots, this is a game where you come in and they look at that defense and they say, where are they strong, where are they weak? They're strong in the secondary, really good in the secondary. They're weak in the run game. Like they're giving up the most amount of yards. The rankings in the running game as far as defense goes are abysmal. They're not really good. So this is a game where again, we talked about this briefly earlier. Like this is a game where Algier needs to be the guy. Like
Right.
this is the game where you run it early and often with Algier. You doesn't mean you have to take Robinson off the field, though he may not always be
Well, I
out there.
mean, he's a little banged up on the
Yeah.
injury report with second week in a row, this time with a hamstring. So maybe this is a game that you lean on Algier more and give Robinson some a little bit more of a rest.
Well, I think Algier's a guy you can absolutely if I'm not saying every game, but like this game in particular, he needs to be the guy. He needs to be the workhorse this game where you give him a bunch of touches early. You're probably going to get 3-4 yards of carry early on. Those 3-4 yards will by the late second, mid third, somewhere in that range. Those 3-4 yards are going to turn into 5-6-7-8 yards, and he may break a couple of big ones. But Algier needs to be the guy that's like that, and then you can still put Robinson out there, like have him be like almost like a tight end, have him be like in line, close to the line of scrimmage. Maybe even put him in the backfield, and then you can have him go out while Algier stays in and does blocking duties. and you can get him out on some linebacker,
Right.
or have what's his face? Have Robinson go out one way and then go out into the flat, and then if everything's looking good, Algier can leak out into the middle of the field, and he's like your safety valve. If nobody else is open, the attention gets pulled away from the middle of the field by Bijan, and you maybe have Algier sitting there right in the middle of the field. But I'm just saying, you know, the guy that should be softening up these defenses, pounding them into submission, that's the guy we need to have right now. Because when you look at when Algier's in the game, the running game right now runs better. We tend to get a little bit more yards out of him. On top of that, like, it kind of balances things out, because then you honestly you're not gonna put anything but a linebacker on him. So, like, you kind of know what they're going to do in that scenario if Algier does go out. So you know exactly where some pieces are going to be, so they can give you an idea. But this needs to be a game where we lean heavily on the running game, play action pass, to take your shots down the field if you want to, but like literally just pound them into submission. That's what this game needs to be, in my opinion. And we'll see how
Now,
things play out, but I think that's what it needs to be.
right, because the Bucs are, they, like I said, they've been like enigmatic the past two games. You throw up 33 on the. My only real concern is that our defense has like roots in the Fangio system, and they just put up 33 points on Vic Fangio and the Eagles. So,
Doesn't Denver also basically have kind of the same deal?
and that's where I'm like, okay, so now you have Vance Joseph, but the the Broncos also have probably one of the best corners in the game in Patrick Surtain. So that helps out a lot. But then again, like AJ Terrell's been like his past, like this last game was a good game, and Mike Hughes has really cemented himself thus far as like a true number two corner.
Yeah.
And has looked really well. Now, D. Alford had some redemptions, but I think that the secondary is in for something. Because you got Mike Evans and Chris Godwin. Again, like Mike Evans, you just got to hope to contain him. He's gonna get
Yeah.
his.
Like he is definitely one of those guys where it's like Mike Evans is you could double cover him, whatever. He's going to find a way to get some plays in on you.
Yep.
He's just that kind of receiver. What you don't want to have is you don't want to you don't want to let him take over the game, but you want to like try to contain him as much as possible, but then don't make that to the detriment to where Godwin now is the guy that eats you up the whole game long.
Right.
So
And that's my bigger concern with the Bucs coming into town is that Baker seems to have definitely found his groove a little bit better. I was kind of hoping he was going to turn back into a pumpkin, but as of right now, he's really only had one bad game. So we're gonna have to see if we can keep, if we can force him to have a bad game. Is this a game where our two safeties really start to like impose their will? Now each of them have gotten an interception thus far, but can we really start imposing our will in that aspect? Because given the opportunity, he attempted 47 passes in the Philly game. So Baker ain't afraid to sling it.
no, and that's a good thing. It could be a bad thing. I mean, it all depends, like game of inches and all that, right? But a guy who is not and Derek Carr is kind of in the same boat. Derek Carr, and that's the reason why you got the pick on him, which is what he probably should have done is Derek Carr in that scenario where he throws that pick. Well, he throws the ball and it gets tipped and a pick six occurs. Okay.
There you go.
What he should have done is either one of two things: either take the sack, live to fight another down, or he should have thrown it. Like much, essentially thrown it to the ground in the general direction of his receiver. That's what he
Right.
should have done. He tried to actually still make the play. And Baker Mayfield is the kind of guy that is kind of in that same boat where he won't do it all the time, but there are definitely times like you get him pressured or whatever, and he feels like he can still make a play happen. And so you do that. He does like to throw it over the middle quite a bit, which is one of the things we've seen a lot of in this span of games so far is not a lot of teams have been wanting to test the middle of the field, especially deep middle of the field.
Yeah,
With
with
those two safeties out there, they're hitting things on the sidelines. They're doing quick passes out there. They're doing little slants in front of the safeties. They're doing a lot of that. So they're not trying to like test those guys deep in a lot of situations. But I think that because of that, that's the reason why when teams get down in the red zone on us, like those guys don't have as much ground to cover anymore, and they're closer.
Oh
And I
yeah,
think that's the reason why we have one of the better teams of keeping teams out of the end zone in the red zone.
I'm with Dre Murphy. We need to give the Broncos a call and see if we can just borrow Patrick Surtain for Thursday night. We'll give him back. Like you can have him back afterwards, but can we borrow him to help shut down
Hey, do you
Mike
guys need a
Evans?
tight end? We got Pitts over here.
Hell,
We'll try
uh,
1-1 swap. Come on.
yeah, but I say Sean Payton can get his next Jimmy Graham. It says it says, but all jokes aside, I got to trust in our DBs and safeties to have help over the top on both sides of the field to help with Evans and Godwin. Yeah, that's what you got to hope for, right? You got to hope that coming off of a short week that Raheem and Jimmy have a good game plan because there were times that it looked like the game plan they had versus the Saints was the first couple drives was not very good. I think Chris said it way earlier in the stream, and I didn't get a chance to highlight it, but um, I will not be one bit sad at all when Taysom Hill retires.
Oh no.
I am so tired of that dude.
He is the modern day version of for most of his career while he was there, L'Jarius Sneed
Oh,
with the Saints. Like L'Jarius Sneed didn't do a whole. I mean, he did some good things, throughout the rest of the year. But man, every single damn time he played us, that man was absolutely kill us.
oh yeah.
Hated that man. When William Moore, I think it was Willie Moe, like, or maybe it was Dan Quinn era safety.
Talking about Keanu Neal.
It was either Neal or Moore. I can't remember which one, but one of them laid him out. I mean that I remember watching that, and I'm watching it on TV, and he's basically on like a little wheel route, and he comes out down the sideline. Drew Brees throws it out there, and I think he actually got it, ran a few steps, and just got ruled. And I don't think we saw him again after that.
Right. And yeah, um I think Bradley's connecting you. It's Willie Sneed, not L'Jarius. L'Jarius
Oh,
is the cornerback.
that's right. That's right.
Willie
That's right.
Sneed.
Willie
Yep.
Snead.
Yep.
Yes, that was the guy.
Yeah, um, but yeah, this is going to be tough. Like this, I know, no doubt about it. Can we win this game? I think we can. Um, but the offense has got to start showing some more consistency. Because right now, with the time of possession being like so in our opponent's favor, that's eventually going to come back and bite us as far as the defensive side of the ball goes. Something else we haven't touched on, we don't spend a lot of time on it, but the Buffalo Bills signed Zion Loge off of our practice squad to their 53. So for folks who were hoping that he was going to develop, he now gets a chance to develop more, but it's going to be with Buffalo. We signed to our practice squad uh,
Rashad Evans.
Rashad Evans, which in a lot of ways doesn't bode well for Troy Anderson. But I don't know how quick Rashad's going to get up to speed. I don't expect to see him Thursday. I've been wrong before on stuff like that, but it'd be kind of crazy to see him play the game Thursday. Uh, so you're probably going to get a bigger dose of JT Bertrand. So we finally get to get a use out of some of our draft picks this
I
year.
mean, we'll see. Maybe we actually activate at least Rook maybe this week. I would not.
Maybe.
I'd be happy to see that. Like, because here's what I think the problem is: Baker Mayfield is good against the blitz. So you're gonna be hesitant to blitz him. And so far, what we've seen is, at least through 4 games, the only guy that has really kind of bucked the trend was Mahomes, and that was very specifically because their game plan was we got to get the ball out of Mahomes' hand. He was getting the ball out super quick. But if you look at most of the other games, like guys were dropping back and couldn't find anybody. So the secondary is holding up. The secondary is staying with their guys for long enough to where guys are having to go through their progressions, get into the third, fourth, fifth read if there's even one out there like that. Maybe even having to go back and check for the first read. And we just need to make sure that we need to do a better job of getting pressure early and forcing them to make a decision with the ball before they're ready to. And I think Rook, if we activate him, I think Rook gives us the best shot to do that. And we need to also probably play Zach Harrison more, play Taquan Graham more, get those guys involved because they both look really, really good in this game against the Saints. So.
Yeah, these things are going to have to continue to progress, and hopefully we start seeing some of these young guys get brought into the mix and get some actual reps and playing time. All right, well, I think we've pretty much just about covered it, right? I mean, we
well, there is the Devontae Adams trade stuff that's coming down. So
he ain't like I didn't bring up Devontae Adams and I didn't bring up Hassan Reddick because those guys come with a big paycheck.
yeah.
So if we make any kind of moves, I highly doubt it's going to be for either one of those guys. And I agree completely with Nick. It's PS. Let's go Braves, right? See, that's why I got my Braves hat on. So I'm definitely repping the home team. Somebody asked for a hat tour. Maybe the last video I do might be a hat tour because I actually, for the first time in a while, I had to get a box and take down some take down some hats because I got too many now.
Yeah.
I don't feel like putting up any more racks, so I had to get something that I don't wear and put them in a box. Let's see. Somebody says, BTW says, JR, you said we can win this? Yes. Now, will we win this game? We're the best team in the division. We're the better team. We'll see. Right now, we're not playing like it. Not in all phases.
Yeah, we have not played a game where we put everything together all at once.
Right. Like there have been like fits and spurts where our offense has looked good, but it is yet to put a full game together.
Yeah, if you go from the end the last drive in the Eagles game and the first drive in the Kansas City game, that was 2 back-to-back drives. Obviously, different games, different weeks, obviously, but that's probably been the most exciting time looking at this offense.
Right.
Because that last drive against the Eagles, right down the field, touchdown. First drive against the Kansas City Chiefs, like when that drive was over, I was like, "Hot damn!"
Right.
That was what?
No, I was like smooth butter,
Yeah. So whatever we did I know what happened with the Philadelphia Eagles. The Eagles were basically like, we don't want to get beat over the top. And so they were playing super super soft, but also some guys I think probably just didn't read things right, made some mistakes, and sometimes you need that. Sometimes if
Yeah.
they play perfectly, then you probably don't make it down there. But at the end of the day, we took advantage of it and what have you. But that first drive against Kansas City, like that was real good. And I
Yes.
thought whatever we did there, we need to figure out what that is, bottle it, and try to use that
Yep.
as much as possible.
Kevin said way earlier up in the show, and I
I
completely
saw that.
agree. He says we could go 6-10 if we beat the Aints twice. It was a good year. There's aspects of that, yes, but man, we really got it. Like my bottom floor is like we need 8-9 games this year. Like I'm so tired of a losing season. Um,
We need at least 9, right?
yeah,
So
yeah.
if
Like
we get if we
I
get
want a winning season.
yeah, if we get to 9, then if we can at least get to 9, so we need 7 more wins. We get 7 more wins. That at least assures us of a winning season, so we can not have another winning season.
Right.
Uh,
Again,
so yeah,
but I agree with Fred, and there's an aspect as we're winning and the offense is not clicking. There's an aspect of that that's scary. If
yeah,
we can get because we have seen flashes of this offense, like if we were winning and every game looked like the Pittsburgh game, I would be very concerned. But the fact that every game we have, even in this game where we didn't score offensive touchdowns, it was looking like a more cohesive offense. Now, if we can just, like I said, put it all together and hopefully come away with a W.
yep.
All right, folks.
I hope.
As always, y'all can follow me on Twitter. I'm at Grimm1128, GRIMM1128. Jonathan,
At Jonathan M. Holder, come by, say hi.
there you go. We'll be back live on Tuesday to talk about the Bucs game, and hopefully it's a win. All right, folks. As always, rise up.
Rise up.